today we'll be going over these 4 items here, and it's going to be important because as a CAD administrator, as an owner, as someone, a contract manager, IT, whoever makes the decisions on your licensing, stay tuned because this is going to be really important information for you for the next half hour here or so. So first, we'll be diving into the new usage report tab that actually came out last month, as well as the seat usage tab. So you may have already seen it, but this was only previously available to premium customers, but now it's available to all customers. But in manage.autodesk.com, you can see it if you're an administrator. So we'll be diving more into that in just a moment. We also have a KETIV reporting tool that we can help run as a courtesy for you. So the information you get from Autodesk that they export out, we can clean that up for you and make it something digestible that you can maybe present internally to justify your seat count. Flex tokens, if you're not familiar with that, we'll be diving into that as well. It's more for low frequency users. If you only use it like once or twice a month, that it might make more sense to head towards the flex token licensing format. And lastly, there's a new in-product message that warns you if you're signed in too many locations, too many machines. There's a message that we'll be diving into that has come out as of February 27th. So it's out now for certain products. So we'll be going into these 4 items. Definitely feel free to use the chat, and I'll be checking the chat from time to time for any questions. A little bit about me. I'm a customer success manager here at KETIV. I want to make sure that my customers are adopting and getting the most out of the tools and investments they already have. I was previously a Fusion 360 application engineer. You may have seen some of mine or my colleague Alex Alvarez's webinars in the past for Fusion 360. Fun fact, I'm the coach of the KETIV slow pitch softball team here in Brea, California. There's a picture of us there. And I've been at KETIV for 6 years, and 4 of those years as a customer success manager. So again, to reiterate about the purpose of this webinar, we want to make sure that I'm educating administrators, educating you guys on so that you can make the most optimal decision for your business. Some of these can help to mitigate underutilized seats. So making sure that, if you assign 20 seats out, and if 5 of them are not being used, you can reallocate that, or maybe not have to renew some of those next time, for example. We can determine things like using different versions of the tool. If you want to standardize it so everyone's using the same version of Inventor, for example, because it's not backwards compatible, what we're going to be going over today can help show that, or help you standardize that, and you can pinpoint who exactly is not using the correct version. Using old versions, if you have users using 2019 and older seats, and 2019 is something that is no longer supported, quote unquote, by Autodesk, supported as in there's no more bugs and hotfixes that is being made for those products, and the rule of thumb is the current version and 3 versions back is what Autodesk supports. So making sure that all users are on newer versions of the software can be important as well. And lastly, something like identifying low usage. So that's referring to the flex tokens, which we'll be going into later in the presentation today. So with that said, I'll be blinding you with this red screen, and we'll be going into our Autodesk portal here, manage.autodesk.com. We'll be showing our KETIV users portal today, because we won't be showing our customers portal, of course, but to make sure that you are able to see this on your end, if you do have it open, to see if you're an administrator and you have the ability to see the reporting, you want to make sure that the primary admin, the contract manager, or another admin goes to your name here, goes to change role, and assigns you as an administrator. So just right here, make sure that you're assigned a secondary admin. Once you will be able to see user management. You'll be able to see reporting, which we'll be diving into next. So This usage report here is that new one I was just talking about, and this one came out last month, actually, as early as last month. But first, let's bring our attention to seat usage here. So there are three categories here: an overall summary of our seat usage by product. So we can see, maybe let's see, a product like Inventor in the product design and manufacturing collection. Let's see what versions people are using and how frequently. So if we're looking at this page here, a third of us are using it quite often, 4 days plus a week, right? And how often throughout the months, which months maybe it increases. So this is just more information for you guys to make better decisions along the way. If I choose a specific product out of the collection, like Inventor, this allows you to see, okay, I'm trying to make sure everyone's using 2023 in my company. In this case, I see maybe half of my teams doing that. Then make a decision based off that information. For our case, we have different customers using different versions. So we need to make sure we have different versions of Inventor so we can communicate properly with you guys. But what's not being shown here is who of these 28 people are using 2023. That's where our KETIV reporting will come in, which I'll show you in just a moment here, to help identify who those are. So you can see that for the next 3 months. You can see this information for the last 30 days, the last year, if you want to do a whole assessment of that. But this is where you can just find this information. Anyone can access this as long as you're an administrator. And it's just free information for you guys. So keeping in mind, we don't know who those 28 users are who's accessing 2023 Inventor. If we go here to By User tab, and I scroll down here to, let me just use my name as an example. We can see that if I do this drop down here, I've been using 2023 versions. So I'm one of those, but to have to individually go through each user like that, it's a little cumbersome. So that's where our KETIV reporting will come in. But you can see the frequency in which I used it and any of the other tools as well. So in order to export this information to the reporting tool, as again, we can run as a courtesy to you guys, just email us at support@ketiv.com and just let us know, like, hey, I would like to have a 15-minute call with myself, with someone at KETIV to take a look at my usage reporting. Definitely feel free to do so. But where that will come in is going to export here. And what this allows you to do, again, is choose the frequency in which you want to see the data. And just mind you, if you did the last 3 months, this would not include March. So this is actually the last 3 months and not the last 90 days. But this is actually the last 30 days. So this does include March. Once you hit export here, it will give you an Excel sheet down below here in this file format. And then you can go ahead and download that. So I went ahead and did that already, so you don't have to wait for this to generate. It takes only about 40 seconds or so to generate. But once you do generate that, you do get something that looks like this. And it's a lot of gibberish. That's where our tool comes in to help clean this up. But this shows, if you see it down below here, the usage tab, this shows every instance a software was open in the last 30 days and by whom. And then there's also a users tab, which shows users just repeated on end. So what our tool can come in here and help do is to clean this up. So you'll see a couple of algorithms and what have you going on there. Now it cleaned it up. Now we have this pivot tab and this inactive tab. And essentially what it did was the pivot tab went through the usage tab and it said, okay, every instance, Andy, in this case, opened up a software. We'll put it in this nice graph, this nice chart here. This nice table here. And then in the inactive tab compares, it shows anyone in the users tab here, which it was also cleaned up, by the way. Anyone in the users tab who is not in the usage tab, and I'll throw it here in the inactive tab. So we'll get to this in just a moment, but let's first take a look at the pivot tab. So if you recall back to what I said earlier, like who were those people using 2023? Now you can identify that by this column here. So everyone in this column who has a number like next to it here, like for example, Navisworks Manage Andy Open 2023 version of that. And that was done in February 2023 right there. So that's February. This is March. So you can see every instance there. If you're trying to isolate anyone from using a 2019 or older because it's a not supported version, there's no more bug fixes for that, you can just highlight this column here and just scroll down and see who those are. In this case, Justin. We might tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, please move to a newer version of AutoCAD or Inventor or what have you. Same with Philip. So that would be the action item there, right? You know who exactly is using which versions without having to go in the Autodesk portal to each individual one to see who that is. So it's a good high-level overview, good for administrators to have this kind of tool available and reporting to justify your seat purchases. But then again, yeah, you can just look at that either by version. If you want to see if you guys are going from AutoCAD to Inventor, you can also see, okay, let me just make sure everyone's using Inventor. So you can just scroll down. Okay, yeah, Inventor is being used here. Inventor is being used here. Inventor is being used here. So however, whatever you want to do with this information, whatever pertains to you or what you're focusing on at the company now, hopefully this information is more digestible and more granular than some of the information we just saw back in the portal. So, and then there's also the inactive tab, like I was mentioning, where it identifies any inactive users. So, so if you look at this column here, offering name, if there is a product here in the in this column, that means in this last 30 days, and this may be a different email or what have you, but it was saying like in the last 30 days it identified, John Fisher as, being assigned a collection, but not pulling a seat or not appearing in the usage tab. So it's identifying this as an inactive user. Whereas this column here, or if it doesn't have anything in here, they are in the users in your team, but they aren't assigned a seat. So they are fine here if it's empty. But if they are assigned a seat, it will show them what seat they're assigned, or at least one of the seats they're assigned, if that makes sense. So if I were an administrator, the way I would take this or understand this document is I would look at everyone assigned a seat of software like this, and I would just go into the portal and check, okay, this person is not identified to using the tool. Let me go talk to them and see if they still need the tool. Or if they're not there anymore, you can just go ahead and unassign that and reallocate that license to someone who could be using it. All right. And this isn't the only way to check for inactive licenses. That's what the new usage reporting tab is. But this is a tool that KETIV here has generated as a courtesy for you guys. So again, reach out to support@ketiv.com and let us know if you'd like to take a look at that. So again, another way, and this is just more information. This is different ways to see your data to make the decisions moving forward. Is this usage report tab, the green new there next to it, and this allows you to see high level information, monthly average of usage, number of users you have, and then what you can organize this by is by maybe monthly average is a useful one here. And I think what Autodesk is trying to do here is to cater to flex tokens. So flex tokens is a pay as you go licensing method where you are able to, if your users are not using the software frequently, they only use it once, twice a month, then they are a good candidate for Flex, because you only pay, again, as it's in the name, pay as you go. If you only use it once, you only pay, if you're using AutoCAD, that's 7 tokens, and each token is $3. So you would only pay $21 if you use it once that month for AutoCAD, as opposed to having a full seat of AutoCAD. Maybe that's like $1,800 or so for the year. So instead of paying that, you're only paying the $21 for that month. Or if you're only using it once in that 6 month, then that's even more savings, right? So that's the whole purpose of Flex, is to help mitigate you from having to commit to a full seat. It's kind of like an in-between. And there's also a Flex rate sheet here, which I can send to you as a link at the end of this webinar here. So you can see how much each costs for what products. And the actual, this isn't the live sheet. This is one from the past here, but I will post the live one. The live one's down today for some reason, but this is generally what the cost is, right? So the rule of thumb, and this is with the asterisk disclaimer at the top of this, is 7 days a month or less. So if you have users that use it 7 days a month or less, they're a good candidate for Flex. The only caveat to that is you want to make sure someone manages this, because if they all of a sudden have to do a lot of projects, and in the past they've only used it once a month, but in the future they're using it 10 times, 20 times a month, then that's not worth it for Flex anymore. So if you do decide to head down the Flex route, the Flex token route, then you want to make sure someone's monitoring this as you go along here. But let me show the monthly averages here first, and then I'll go into the slide of what monitoring that looks like. So if I go here to this page, you can start seeing the monthly averages start getting closer to 7, and then it hits 7 here. So maybe everyone above Marco here and above could be a good candidate for Flex. But if you have a 2-for-1 deal seat, where it was a network license to named user license, and that's significantly cheaper than a full license, new license today. If you have a perpetual license that was changed to subscription, that's significantly cheaper. That will lower the number of in which Flex is worth it. So it may be closer to 2 or 3 days a month for some customers to use Flex. So just keep that in mind. And again, reach out to us if you're not sure, or if you'd like to talk about it more, just to confirm your where you stand with Flex. We're more than happy to have that conversation with you. All right. So that's what this usage report can show here. And if I go back to page 1 here, anything that has this red here is an easy way to tell, again, inactivity. So you can cross compare it, maybe this inactivity here with the inactivity in the KETIV reporting that we're just looking at, that tab. There's just more than one place you can find inactivity that you can redelegate those licenses. And Flex tokens, going back to Flex tokens, this is something that you can assign to someone, just like you would assign AutoCAD Inventor, the collection. And then once they use a software, which you can pinpoint, like, oh, I only want them to use AutoCAD, for example. Once they use AutoCAD for at least 5 minutes in that day or more, then it will pull a seat of AutoCAD for that whole day. So it'll consume those 7 tokens. And Flex tokens expire after 1 year of purchase. So you want to buy maybe a little bit less than what you anticipate to use, just because it's something that you can always buy more of later. It's not held to a specific contract at that time, for example. So it's like if milk is going bad, you don't want to buy all the milk up front and then have some go bad. You'd rather buy maybe a little bit less than the amount of milk you need for the whole year. And then when the milk's about to expire, you can always buy more milk later, if that's a good analogy for that. So it expires 1 year after usage here. Here's the way this would be in the portal. We don't have tokens, so I can't show you in our portal. But you can monitor your Flex tokens as an administrator by this page here. And this is where you can see if Bob is using it way more than you anticipated, consider switching him to a full seat instead. You can always do that later if you want, if you have extra seats available as well. But if and if someone is using a full seat and they're not using it enough, maybe you can lower them down to flex instead. So again, if you want to start using flex, you need someone to start monitoring that that usage there. And lastly, there is the in-product message for subscription overuse. So starting February 27th, which means it's already started, Autodesk is going to be prompting users that are running more than 2 devices simultaneously that, hey, you're using too many Autodesk software here. So it'll give you the option to either pause the other session or sign in as a different user on your current session. And right now, they're only rolling it out for Inventor and Civil 3D, but it's going to be available for the other softwares as well. And this is for 2020 and newer softwares. And this is the message you would see when you do reach the limit. It'll give you the option to pause the product. Oops, won't let me. Oh, there we go. To pause the product there or sign in as a different user there. So pretty straightforward. So if you start experiencing that, or if you're someone who uses it on multiple devices, this would pertain more to you. So this is a recap. So essentially, what we went over today. So the new usage report tab, reach out to us, support@ketiv.com. We're more than happy to walk you through your usage report and make sense of that data with you. But it is in manage.autodesk.com. You do need to be an administrator to see that data. And we're more than happy to run our courtesy KETIV report, like we just saw here today in Excel, to clean up your data. And if you have low frequency users, we can also talk to you about if Flex token licensing is a good fit for what you're trying to achieve. And then that new in product message there at the bottom. So there's the email there again, support@ketiv.com. You can also call us at that number there, but email would be probably best. So I'll take a look at the questions. So the first question I see is the limit. This is the limit 2 devices. It's actually more than 2. So yeah, so you can use it at the same time on 2 devices. So, but once it hits 3, that's when you'll start to see that message. And don't know. Don't see any other questions, but feel free to reach out with any questions that you may have. Other than that, I hope this was helpful for you guys. This will be recorded, or this is being recorded, and it will be available to you to review later as well. Okay, I saw another question. So 2 different devices by the same person is okay. Yes, according to the messages here, it allows you for 2 devices. So that's according to the pop-up. It'll be once it's 3 devices, that pop-up will appear. But we do recommend to only be signed in to 1 device at a time, just to avoid any of the compliancy. So let me double check on that, because from the grammar, the literature that I read here, it was more than 2 devices. So that's assuming 2 devices is okay. I hope I don't. I'm starting to confuse myself now. But let me get back to you, Joe and Mike, on that of the 2 devices and whether or not that is just for the notification that you'll get if you're using on more than 2 devices, or if it's also within compliancy. Are Flex tokens used per day or per month? It's used per day. So if you use it 5 minutes or more in a session, that's going to count it for that whole 24 hours. It's not per month. All right. But yeah, Joe, Mike, I'll get back to you about the usage per devices for the same person. You could definitely have yourself access different machines, but using it consecutively. Let me get back to you about that. All right. Other than that, I don't see any other questions coming in. Definitely feel free to reach out to support@ketiv.com if you do have a question later on, and we're more than happy to address that.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Brian, and thank you everyone for joining, and we will see you all at next week's session.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.